Paul George, he was going to be a focal point in this game. Ditto, Josh Smith off to free agency this summer. Interesting. This is a little bit of that two-man game we talk about with Horford and Josh.
Well, they did a good job, and you can see Josh Smith kicking it out. Al Horford kicking out to Josh Smith, standstill jump shot. They got off to a really good start, the Atlanta Hawks, but what the Pacers did, they started to settle down, and you can see David West drawing the attention. You got to come down and double or dig it out. He threw it to George Hill, and he had a fantastic game. 18 points and also hit 3 threes.
Strong start, 5 for 5.
Pacers pushing the basketball, George, and he flips it over to Lance Stevenson, and Stevenson, a lot of emotion there, trying to get the crowd up on their feet. Part of a 13-2 Pacer run. Tyler Hansbrough, Psycho T, running the floor.
Strong finish.
Well, after this, Larry drew a strong message to his team about shot selection.
Well, it was our shot selection. We got off to a great start. Then we start settling for jump shots, so we can't do that, particularly in this building.
Nope, you can't settle for that. So Josh backing his way down on West and the left-handed hook.
Well, they didn't shoot the basketball bad, but Coach Larry Drew talked about shot selection. He means they were just taking a lot of jump shots because they didn't get to the free throw line. They need more plays like this where they can score inside that paint.
Yeah, Al had a dozen in the first half, but a quiet second half. And then George Hill continuing to shoot the ball well. He was 6 of 7 in the first half and 15 points for the Pacers. Back to Josh, driving, loses it in the air. George ahead to Lance Stevenson. You got to get back.
Yeah, you do. And
obviously.
Or you got guys doing chin-ups on the ball, on the rim.
That's true. Under 7 left in the half. George on Ivan Johnson in the paint, scores the scoop and one. Frank Vogel, he wants the killer shot.
They look like they're fading. They look like they're ready to give us a game if we smash them right now. Okay, we got to smash them right now.
Smash mouth basketball, guys. That's what I'm talking about.
And he said right now.
Right now. Big Roy Hibbert. Inside, and then Paul George and Lance Stevenson showing up in this game.
Well, Lance Stevenson has been a bright spot for the Indiana Pacers. We talk about Paul George, but Paul George moved to the 3, and Lance Stevenson has done a good job of playing the 2. And look at this move by Paul George. That's big time.
We talked about the triple-double, the first since May of '98 when Mark Jackson had one against the Knicks. Oh! Now the Hawks shelving Mac. No. Paul George tracked that down.
It's a la LeBron James chase down.
Sure is.
Slapping that off glass. But the Hawks scrapping back. Devin Harris, Deshaun Stevenson for 3. And now the lead is only 8 for homestanding Indiana. David West. Talk about smashing it. They tried to, working inside, guys all over the floor. Stevenson comes up with it, flip to West, and in.
I thought the Pacers had more energy than the Hawks throughout the course of this game. David West went down with an ankle injury, came back. Psycho T got in there and continued to bring that energy.
And Stevenson are driving, layup 101-86 there, and the final 107-90. As we said, all 5 Pacer starters in double figures, led by Paul George, who had the triple-double, 23 points, 11 rebounds, and 12 assists.
Game 2 between Indiana and Atlanta. And prior to the tip, it is Danny Granger with a very important presentation to Paul George. He is the Kia NBA Most Improved Player. Granger won that award during the 08-09 season, but has missed the bulk of this year due to injury. Josh Smith and company trying to tie up the series at a game apiece. Jeff Teague, he had a strong start. That put the Hawks up 3. Here comes Paul George, who had a triple-double in game number 1 and feeling it here. Indiana by 2. Now George Hill to Roy Hibbert. Get out of the way, Ivan Johnson. Smile. You've been posterized. 11 first-half points for Hibbert, as there is nothing Ivan Johnson can do about that. Another high flyer. This is Gerald Green coming off the bench, making an impact. 8 points in the first 2 quarters. This is a big-time throwdown. It was a 10-point lead for the home team after Green got them on their feet in Indianapolis. Hawks hanging around, though. Al Horford, uncontested, put back off the Jeff Teague miss. Horford 8 in the first half. More of Horford, playing defense this time. Comes up with a loose ball. Gets it to Jeff Teague, who had 10 points in the second quarter, 16 in the half. It was 51-46. But how about the reserves really stepping up for the Pacers? DJ Augustine from downtown. Bench points in the first half, 24-6 in favor of Indiana. They led it by 9 at the break, and then the high-flying action continued in the second. Paul George from George Hill. Now George Hill to Paul George, and he goes in with the lay-in. George, game-high 27 points to go along with 8 rebounds, 4 steals, 77-65. David West, the long pass. Gerald Green, take one more look. Green outrunning the defense. He came off the bench to drop in 15. Sheldon Mack to Josh Smith. He had 16 points. Back down to a 10-point deficit for the team wearing red, but just way too much of the number 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. George Hill, 22 points on 4 of 7 from downtown. Pacers win it going away, 113-98. Free throws, a big storyline here. Atlanta just 11 of 20. Indiana 21 of 29. And the Pacers have a commanding 2-0 advantage.
Saturday night in the NBA playoffs, a complete role reversal for the Pacers and the Hawks. Josh Smith and the Hawks barely showed up in their 2 double-digit losses in Indianapolis in games 1 and 2. But Saturday night in game 3, they were running the floor and dominating the Pacers. Josh Smith to a trailing Al Horford for the slam. Atlanta beginning to take control very early on. Late first quarter. Smith defending Paul George and forcing George to force a tough shot. Frank Vogel could feel that his team was not ready. Indiana shot just 27% in the first quarter while Atlanta caught fire. Anthony Tolliver for 3. Then in the second quarter, Josh Smith posted up down low, working to spin, and he does and finishes with authority. Atlanta doubling Indiana's output at that point. Then later on, more struggling Pacer offense resulting in an ugly display by David West. He thought he should have picked up the foul and said he took out his frustration on a fast-breaking Al Horford. You'll see him shoved behind, and then later on in the play, Atlanta Hawk point guard Jeff Teague shoved West into the referee. West was assessed a flagrant 1. Teague assessed a technical foul. Second quarter action continues. Devin Harris got the steal, went behind his back to the trailing Josh Smith. All Atlanta, and Phillips Arena was alive with Hawk fever as they came and showed up big time Saturday night. At halftime, they led by 24. Horford almost lost the ball in the second half, recovered, and was able to knock down the shot to pad Atlanta's double-digit lead. Paul George, this play totally significant of the kind of struggling Saturday night it was for George and the Pacers. Ivan Johnson, the big man, look at that, totally wide open. Very beautiful night for Jeff Teague and the Hawks. Ugly night for the Pacers as Atlanta wins Game 3 big. Game 4 Monday night back in Atlanta.
Through 3 games, the Indiana Pacers lead the Atlanta Hawks 2-1 in a series that has featured 3 blowouts. The closest game, a 15-point Pacer win in Game 2. Johan Petro flying in for the game after the birth of his baby this afternoon in Miami and getting involved early. Nice little push hook shot there. The Hawks down by 2, though, 8-6. Later in the first, Devin Harris to Josh Smith, and Josh Smith taking off along the baseline, throwing that one down. He was 9 of 20 from the field. Later, first quarter, 2 big men working together. Tyler Hansborough over to Roy Hibbert for the big jam. He had 14 points on the game. Indiana up 19-14. More first quarter. Devin Harris driving layup as the clock expires and Atlanta goes up 22-21. Into the second quarter we go, and it's Josh Smith. Keep your eye on Josh Smith with the rebound throwdown. A playoff career high 29 points for Smith, who mixed in 11 rebounds as well, part of a 25-3 Hawks run. And then there's Jeff Teague with a floater. He had 13 points. The Hawks up 41-30. Later, second quarter, Johan Petro, good idea. Kyle Korver buries a three-pointer. He was 5 of 8 from range. Still second quarter, Devin Harris outside, open, nails the 3. and Atlanta goes to the lockers up 57-40, so a 17-point advantage this game following script. Third quarter, though, things changed. Roy Hibbert gets the block on one end. On the other end, Paul George off the nice feed from Lance Stevenson throws that one down. George, 21 points and 12 rebounds. Later third quarter, Stevenson needs no help at all, just muscles that one up, and in Carmelo Anthony style, that part of a 15-1 Pacers run. Later third quarter, Devin Harris with the driving layup, trying to stop this Pacers run. Atlanta goes up by 8, 69-61. George Hill passing to Paul George, and Paul George easily knocks down the three-pointer there. Atlanta's lead trimmed to 6. Later, Josh Smith, well, he's got a 3 of his own. They don't always like him taking these shots, but he nails it. 2 of 5 from distance on the game. Atlanta goes up by 8. You can see the bench reaction there. 89-81. Josh Smith then grabbing the offensive rebound and finds Kyle Korver, who anybody would want to shoot at any time. Kyle Korver nails that three-pointer. He had 19 points on the game. Then it's Paul George back the other way for those Indiana Pacers, cutting into the lead again. It's a 5-point game with under 2 to go. 92-87. How would Atlanta respond? Well, it's Jeff Teague passing to Al Horford, and Al Horford, top of the key, money in the clutch. 18 points on the game. Atlanta up by 7, and then Hawks in transition find Josh Smith. This is what he can do. Righty style. Throws it down. Atlanta up 96-87. The Hawks go on to get the W over the Pacers and even the series at 2 games apiece.
Indiana feeling very good about heading home, even though Josh Smith had played very well at Phillips.
He really did in games 3 and 4. The question was, Coach Vogel, can you get that man in better situation to get his game going? And he come out from deep money ball.
That's DZ range on that
Man,
three-pointer.
get a ticket with you, young man. Get a ticket to come out there.
Goodness. Ivan Johnson rebound off the Horford miss. Johnson to Kyle Korver. 5 threes in his previous game against Indiana. The game was tied at 17. Now, here's Josh filling up the stat sheet. Gets the steal. Jeff Teague. Back to Josh for the dunk.
Well, that's where he's at his best, guys. When you can get the ball up and now you can fill the lane, now you can finish at the rim.
The big fella coming to life.
Well, they needed him to play well. Fortunately for him, he got a lot of his stuff done in the paint, and that's where he's the best.
And just Josh is backing people down and getting himself close to the basket and finishing a 1-point Atlanta lead. Lance Stevenson, David West. David West really with a big game, an important game for his.
Well, he finally got some touches. 16 times tonight. You need more touches from him.
41-35 after that West bucket. Then there's Josh Smith on the bench, second quarter with 2 fouls. Lance Stevenson, Augustine, corner 3. 50-41 Indiana. 50-43 at the break, the Pacers. Then George Hill, Paul George.
And that's another thing Vince reminded about Paul George being more active. He caught Josh Smith sleeping that time. Great backdoor cut.
Pacers is in transition, and Josh Smith fouling Paul George as he drives to the basket. 5th foul, and then he gets a technical as he heads to the bench. Now, see, Josh, you can't lose your cool.
Well, you cannot do that. When you're one of the focal points of your team, you're one of the leaders, you cannot hurt your team by getting technical. You need to be on the floor. I understand you want to tell the refs, bad call. Let Larry Drew fight that battle for you.
Good point. And the rest of the night belonging to the Indiana Pacers. Paul George hits that 3, 65-48 at that point. Lance Stevenson, George the Thrill Hill, happy to be back home. Whoa.
Yes. Had a little extra spin on that
I
one
guess.
to stay down. So you like that extra pass by Lance Stevenson for a wide open shooter.
And security escorting a Hawk fan out of the arena. And as the Hawk fan gets pulled away, a Pacer fan starts to get fired up here. Look at this. Just walking him through the gauntlet. Oh, that's not good. Come on.
Come on, security. Come on, Usher. You can do better than that.
We're really on this shot for a long time.
Well, I think it's good to see security taking care of a bad situation, making it right.
Thank you.
It's always good to see that.
George Hill, David West, And he hits the jumper. West, again, outstanding. He had half his points in the second quarter, 12 of his 24 in the game, along with 5 rebounds. And Paul George, terrific night, 21, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Look at Roy Hibbert. See, Coach, it's just like you said. Indiana's big guys, their big guns stepped up, and they were not there for the Atlanta Hawks.
In 6 games, Josh Smith, perhaps his final home game as a Hawk, free agent this summer.
Hey, big decision for Atlanta Hawks and big decision for Josh Smith.
And a big throwdown here from Paul George, but he had an ugly game. Just 2 of Paul George, just 2 of 10 in the game.
Still looking to find that travel game, taking that great success he's had on the home court and onto the road.
Roy Hibbert, 8 points and 5 boards in the first quarter. The game was tied at 18, and the Hawks struggling to find offense.
Yeah, they are. If you just look at them, the offense seems a little stagnant. You know, driving into the teeth of the pace of defense. Look at them. Just too much stagnant, not moving around, not setting in the screens for anyone. You're not going to beat good teams by playing ISO basketball.
The Hawks had 29 points and shot 24% in the first half. And look at how wide open David West is.
People talk about getting a hand up. You got to at least be in the vicinity.
He is, after all, the 17-foot assassin. And Johan Petro, yikes. Pacers coming back the other way, leading by 3 at this point. Paul George right over Korver, bang.
Hey, at least we've seen 2 of Paul George's 3 field goals in the highlight.
And then, look at the hustle right there. Roy Hibbert going down to the floor, calls timeout.
Well, he's been a verbal leader, but the best way to lead is through action, and that's a great example.
Al Horford off. He and Josh Smith were a combined 2 of 13 in the first half. Jeff Teague had another rough night as well.
Yeah, I mean, when your best players get off to such a slow start, it just puts too much pressure on everyone else, and then they start pressing. And again, the Hawks just couldn't get over the hump tonight against the Pacers.
The Hawks missed 17 shots in a row at one point. David West hits the J. Indiana up 37-29 at halftime. And Roy Hibbert in the third quarter got back to work.
Nice to give Roy a little love here. We talked a lot about David West's evening. Look, they beat the Hawks up in the interior, and it wasn't a one-man show. Roy Hibbert came to play as well.
And then Devin Harris has his shot blocked. Indiana up 17, looking to build on the lead. They go to Hibbert, and that's exactly what happens. They're up 19.
Yeah, play this game inside out. And one thing Roy Hibbert, he has improved as this series went on. He started getting deep position. And then you saw an array of moves that he had, spin moves and reverse dunks.
Lance Stevenson spinning on Kyle Korver. Ivan Johnson collides with Roy Hibbert and is called for a technical for the second straight game.
Well, composure's been the one thing that we've noticed in young players this year in the playoffs so far, an inability to keep it.
And look at that. How do you get a straight line drive right through the teeth of the defense?
Unbelievable. You just can't have those type of plays, especially when you was at home struggling, trying to get back in the game. The Hawks just can't afford to give up plays like that.
Wow, and then George Hill left wide open, but the Hawks fight back in the fourth. Devin Harris knocks it away again, gets it back, and here come the Hawks, 69-58, and they keep on coming, Rick.
Well, that was the type of start I'm sure they would have liked to have. It showed up a little late, and unfortunately for the Hawks, not enough in the end.
And then Al Horford right here. It's a 7-point game. Now it's a 5-point game rather after that mash over Roy Hibbert. 4.5 to go. Al Horford wanted the foul. George Hill on the drive, but he can't hit. But right there, Roy Hibbert, he had answers all night.
Yeah, he did. I mean, that's the one thing. When you give up dribble penetration the way the Hawks did, is you leave your big guys susceptible to giving up offensive rebounds because they go over to block the shots. The guard don't come down and box out. Layup.
The Hawks got it down to 3, as you saw. And then right here, David West, Johnny on the spot. The put back good with 2:14 to go. Put the Pacers up by 5. They go on to win 81-73. David West and George Hill each with 21. Roy Hibbert, a double-double, 17 and 11.